go. This is All Things Black with Garland and Calvin. I'm Calvin. This is Garland. And today we are doing double duty once again. We will be discussing Queen Sugar, season 5, episode 11. Episode 6, May 27th, 2020 was the title of that. And this is us, season 5, episode 11, titled One Small Step. So what's going on, Garland? How you doing, sir?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. I can't believe it's just Wednesday. It seems like
Just
this is
Wednesday.
it's just Wednesday. This should be Thursday or Friday or something. It's tough,
And
and I've been
and
carrying
if we
around this
going by
belt
the
too. So it's been
really,
doubly hard,
really,
man, on me just
really,
carrying around this belt. I
I
guess
just
maybe
want
that's why the
y'all to
week has been
know.
longer.
I just want y'all to know that Garland has been avoiding me. We supposed to be figuring out what the next music battle is, and Garland's been. What's the song? She's a runner. She's a track star. That's Garland. He's a runner. He's a track star. Garland has been avoiding me. Come see me, bro. Come see me. Give me a
No, you
shot at
did.
the title. You can't run ever. You
He
cannot
said,
run forever. Running.
he said a runner and a track star. Okay, all right. I see how you feeling. I see how you feeling. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
It's not me,
You
man.
know
It's you.
what? I was just thinking about something the other night of a potential battle. So yeah, I need to get with you. I need to get with you because I just need to go ahead and just defend my crown. I'm the senior champion, so it's been tough for me. I got to take my time with this stuff because I don't want to, you know, I want to fight when I'm
You
in
know
my
what?
prime.
Let me get my little bit of drink because right now, bro, you killing. Or how they I don't even know if they say this anymore. You blowing me. You blowing me, bro.
I'm
You
blowing you.
Yeah,
Come
man, you
on,
were talking
man.
about the week. It feels like it's just Wednesday. If we go by the weather, you never know what day it is. Like it's been cool, it's been windy, it's been sunny. Today it's been torrential downpours. You just never know what's
Right,
going on around here, man. Never know
right.
what's going
It's
on.
supposed to be 70 tomorrow, so hopefully I can get outside, do a little walking, get a little exercise, whatnot. So
I
we'll see.
actually have a doctor's appointment and I'm going into the office tomorrow. So I'm out
Oh,
here
wow.
venturing in the world, man. I'm out here venturing in the world,
You
putting
about to be
put
out here in
myself
these
out
COVID
there.
streets. You about to be out here in these
About to be
COVID
out here. I
streets.
get my first shot. We are both scheduled to get our first shots Friday. So we'll get our
Okay.
shots Friday. By the end of April, we will be fully vaccinated. And then, bro, you know how I tab these streets. So if when I get vaccinated, y'all better make sure y'all stay off the streets till about 6, 7 o'clock, because that's usually when I'm in bed by then. So between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., boy, it is on. It is on.
Man, you know what? Hey, we might be able to do a live show. Because I'm getting my second shot
Yeah.
next Wednesday, and so let's see. We're closer to herd immunity. We haven't herd immunity on all things black, so
That's
we might be
right.
able to. Yeah.
We need to
Mm.
do that. We need to
Yeah,
do
we
that.
need to do
Hey
that. Yeah,
man,
yeah.
we
All right.
we rolling double duty. Let's get started. Let's jump into it.
All right, let's start with Queen Sugar. We're always going to start with Queen Sugar because it's all things black. And so, Queen Sugar, May 27th, 2020. And so, last night, Queen Sugar relived the day that sparked mass protests across this country and magnified the issues of police violence in communities of color. On March the 27th, 2020, George Perry Floyd Jr., an African American man, was killed during an arrest after a store clerk alleged he had passed a counterfeit $20 bill in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Derek Chauvin, one of the four police officers who arrived on the scene, knelt on Floyd's neck for a period initially reported to be 8 minutes and 46 seconds. After his death, protests against police brutality, especially towards black people, quickly spread across the United States and internationally. And so the episode went deep into the pain and the anguish felt by many on that day and the weeks and the months that followed. especially in a climate where racial tensions have been more open during the presidency of Donald Trump. It was just a crazy time, and just thinking back to last year, when all of this stuff took place. And so what we really see in this episode is we see each character viewing Floyd's death through their own eyes, through their own paradigm. And so we see Micah, the murder triggers his memory of being unjustly arrested by the police in one of the earlier seasons. And in response, he organizes a protest at City Hall. We see Charlie. She's contemplating what's the proper response to this tragedy. Now she's an elected official. Do we march? Do we vote? Do we protest? Nova and Calvin. Nova, she posted a video blog honoring those who were murdered by law enforcement based on the time that was spent, that the officer allegedly had his knee on Floyd's neck, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And so later she confronts Calvin, because Calvin likes him thick, and his daughter about their feelings about the murder. And excuse me, although Calvin is a little uneasy about what to think about this, because, for some white people, it was just, another day. It was business as usual. And so, she kind of really gets into him to dig deep of why he feels the way he does, and the lack of response from white community. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And so, and even gets into an incident that he had as a police officer. We see Darla and Ralph Angel. They had to. They see the news and they cut their honeymoon short. For a minute, I thought they were going to bring Blue back, a baby brother, because they was really getting kind of freaky on honeymoon. That's what you do on honeymoon, I guess. And it's been a while for me. And so they cut their honeymoon short to get back home to Blue, where they have to have the talk. Some of us have had to talk, watch yourself when you're in the community. If the police pull you over, this is what you do. And so on the way home, they have a run-in at the gas station where a white person questions, what is Black Lives Matter? White Lives Matter? All lives matter. And that's not even just for white people that have questions about Black Lives Matter. It's a whole lot of black people that don't understand that Black Lives Matter either. And so, and then finally, we see Vi, Hollywood, and Prosper. We see this greater impact that deaths like this have on the family and the loneliness that is felt. We not only have Hollywood, who's grieving the loss of his mother, but he raises the point about imagine how people's families feel losing loved ones. A lot of times we don't think about that, or sometimes we miss the thing of like when we lose family members to the mass in incarceration complex, where we lose people to the prison industrial complex, and the impact that that has on family. You missing family, you missing that person in a home. And so they deal with that. And um and so they have this dialogue around what this impact has and what this impact is going to have on a community. And so let me ask you, let's start off with this, talking about Queen Sugar, because it's really a kind of the discussion of these different viewpoints. And I think we kind of saw ran the gambit of a lot of viewpoints people have. And one of the things that they raised, Calvin, that I thought was real significant, that, we're not a monolithic group of people. We're not just, a people that have all had the same opinions, had the same viewpoints of what has happened, or what happened on that day. And so I was pleased to see this dichotomy of viewpoint, which I thought was very good. So, just on a personal level, what do you remember about that day, and how did it make you feel? Because that was one of the things that we really saw throughout these characters of seeing this and the feeling that it caused internally.
Well, I honestly, and I'm not numb to it, but I almost expect it. You expect to cut on the TV and something has happened to a black man when it comes to police officers. And growing up in the city and growing up being a black man, you know, we've lived it, not to the extreme of death as some of these people have, but we've lived it. So um, it affected me. I think what really got to me was when I finally saw the video, because I didn't see the video right away, and him, calling out for his mom. And just literally, I mean, we've seen people shot, we've seen black men shot on TV, we've seen them choked out on TV. And then now we're watching this guy just put his knee in this man's neck and let the life just sift out of him like he's just a balloon slowly letting the air out. And it's like this guy just this cop just didn't care. Like protect and serve is supposed to be their mantra, and you're just killing this man like over a counterfeit $20 bill. I don't care what he's resisting. So my thoughts were, it's so difficult for me to believe, and still to this day, that people are so can be so evil and have so much of a hardened heart that they can just let something like this happen, and literally under his knee.
Yeah, it's definitely. I thought back to the Ta-Nehisi Coates book, and it's funny because we did go over this in one of our previous episodes when we reviewed Between the World and Me. Um, that his premise of the black body is always under attack. We can't protect the black body, particularly against law enforcement, and it's almost like watching snuff porn. You know what snuff porn is? It's like people get off of seeing people like allegedly murdered, or the act of murdering, not that people actually die on camera. And it's like we see these things over and over again. And like you said, at some point you get desensitized to it. You get just kind of like, wow, this is like, when is this ever going to change? And just to think, a month before that, Ahmaud Arbery was killed by two white men while jogging through a development. And so, you have these things stacking up back to back, and you have these repeated incidences. It does, in a sense, kind of just makes you weary. Your mind, your spirit just gets weary because it's something that's always in constant rotation. And to think, this is not new. We just have camera phones to record it. But imagine, the decades and the centuries of treatment like this not being caught, people being killed without witnesses or people to vouch of what happened. And so, one of the things I always notice too, Calvin, is a lot of times when these things happen, you have other officers who are there. There's never any effort to save the life of these people. You know, um, Someone shot, but there's not an effort to provide CPR or to, uh, stop the bleeding. It's like people stand around and they just watch these lives just float away, and it's nothing. Same
They're
thing that
absolutely
happened.
complicit.
Yeah, same thing would happen with Michael Brown in St. Louis. Cops shot him in the middle of the street, never called for an ambulance, never administered any CPR, and basically they just let him lay in the sun and bleed out. And so, it definitely does desensitize you after a while. Now, also, one of the things, and I'm glad this was brought up, in the show, where is the white outrage? Why do you think white people are slow to kind of jump out and support this? I mean, genuine support, not some slogans of, yeah, we support you, we stand with you after the fact. I never forget my daughters. Um, we live out in, well, I ain't gonna say we international, but let's act like we are. I'm in Maryland. I live in a county outside of Baltimore City, majority white county, and they had some George Floyd protests like a couple days after the murder in Bel Air, Maryland. And the girls went with another family friend, and they were saying that while they were out there protesting, you had people just at the cafe eating lunch, shopping, white people. Like, nothing was happening. Like nothing was going on. It was really no acknowledgement of this wrong that had been done. So, why do you think white people struggle with that Black Lives Matter and, you know, having outrage over the murder of another human being?
Well, I don't know if they struggle. The reason I say I don't know if they struggle is because in order to struggle, you actually have to be at odds with yourself on whether you should do something or not.
Hmm.
It's not their experience growing up. They don't live nor do they hear these experiences. A lot of times it doesn't affect them or their family. So, when they're talking, they don't talk about that kind of stuff. They talk about us as far as, well, what he do to provoke that. It's just like, women talk about it a little when they talk about women being abused. The man is totally wrong for abusing the woman, but the first question that you may hear police officers or anyone ask is, well, what did you do to provoke that? So they start to put the onus
Sure.
on the other group because they don't believe that they could have just done that for no reason, period. So when you're looking at it from their side, it's not a struggle. It's just, my life doesn't hasn't dictated anything like that, but their life has. Why are they so angry? All they have to do is just do this and this will happen. Believe that all you have to do is follow the law and it'll work for you because it's always worked for them, but it doesn't work for us. Now, with that being said, I'm glad you brought that up because I really had a problem, and this is the opposite end of that. I really had a problem with Nova last night. um,
Hmm.
and I had a problem with her confronting Calvin because, number one, Calvin didn't just become white. He didn't just become a police officer.
Sure.
You can't all of a sudden, or I'm sorry, you can, but I don't think it's fair to him to all of a sudden jump on this pro-black stance after something that's have been plenty of things that have happened, and you've been black all your life. So now that this is out here, now that you're going to jump in this protest, it felt like she was validating why she wants to be part of this protest, because now you're here with this white man that, again, you've taken from his wife, and now you may have to justify that in your own mind. So I think she was really unfair to him. Also, she started saying things like, why don't you feel ashamed and embarrassed? It's one thing to feel like, wow, why did they do that? They shouldn't do that. But why don't you feel ashamed and embarrassed because someone black were to do something? We always feel embarrassed.
Right.
I don't think we do, Nova. Like, there's plenty of things that happen in all races. We may feel like, well, why would you do that? That's some BS. But I don't think we feel ashamed and embarrassed because I think we realize that no matter the race, there are good people and that there are bad people. So just because such and such does something, it doesn't mean I feel embarrassed as a race because someone robbed someone else or someone killed someone else. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's despicable, and I think we need to do better as a people. But I personally don't feel embarrassed because I'm not part of that mob. So I didn't quite agree with her. I don't want to say I didn't agree with her stance. I didn't agree with her approach to Calvin. And I hate to cape for the white man, but I did think she was being unfair to him at that point when you've already accepted him, everything he's come with. Because at this point, he's rolling along with you. And now all of a sudden you're hitting him with this when this isn't anything that's new. It's just a new incident now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think, maybe she thinks he's supposed to get it by osmosis. You with a sister, you supposed to now you down and you
Exactly.
understand the cause and the plight. And I agree with you on that one. I think that it's always this responsibility placed on black people to educate white people. And I don't think we should have that responsibility. You have to educate yourself in some aspects, just to look at it on the other side. Calvin, you got a lot of life experiences, not you, the character. And um, you should know from your interactions as a police officer or just as a person in the community of, what we experience when things like this happen. And you know I think that's the disconnect, that sometimes it's almost like we're grieving alone. It's like when you lose a family member and everyone's grieving except maybe that close spouse or that child. It's like, or everybody, you're the only person grieving and everybody else is like, oh, okay, whatever. One of the things I hate when I go to a funeral is for people to get up and say, Daddy wouldn't want y'all to cry, Mama wouldn't want y'all to cry. Shut up. People go through different stages of grief. You can't speak for Mama and Daddy, they're not here. And so you have to let people uh, grapple with what they have to grapple with. And I think a lot of times we look to other people, as in, like, humanistically, you should be able to feel what we feel too. We shouldn't always have to go through a period of mourning by ourselves. And so, I find that interesting, that whole challenge of that white disconnect from black pain, which I really saw last night. Let me ask you this. What do you think is the biggest challenge to justifying the phrase Black Lives Matter? Because I'm going to tell you, I don't know how many arguments I've gotten into with people who look like me about Black Lives Matter. Why do you think that phrase is so difficult?
Well, at the beginning, because even I had it wrong at the beginning, just literally Black Lives Matter does sound like we don't care about anything else. All we care about is black life. Which, by the way, if that was the actual meaning behind the movement, we would be justified in doing that also. However, it's not. And I had to be educated on it too, because the go to defense is always lives matter so much. What about Chicago? What about
Right,
Baltimore? That's
right,
the go-to defense.
right, right,
So at the time when it first came out, the biggest challenge was just the literal interpretation of the words Black Lives Matter. Now, if you have a challenge with explaining the meaning to someone, it's because they're being willfully ignorant. Um, there's no need to have to continue to explain what it means now. So at this point, one is having a challenge, they are willfully being ignorant and they don't want to hear anything else. They're just going to believe what they're going to believe, and they know what it means. They know what it stands for. So at this point, right now in 2021, anyone that fights against what it means is just being ignorant. Now, when we go back to Queen Sugar at that point, it's because, again, the literal termination of it, and it does sound like no one else's life. When they saw when uh gosh, Darla and Ralph Angel saw the
Is in a
guy
gas
at
station.
the gas station, and he says, well, shouldn't all mothers matter and all this? It's because, well, I can't speak for him, but him looking at the literal interpretation of it, he can actually defend why he's saying against it. I don't know what he actually knew, but that's the way to challenge it, because the literal interpretation thinks that only the black people matter. And again, if that was the literal interpretation, we have every right to have that interpretation and make that stand, because of what's happened to us in this country and in the world over the lifetime of the world. But again, the challenge right now is just people being ignorant, and you're not going to change these people. These people that are being ignorant are going to remain ignorant, and we just got to move on past them and learn how to deal with them. And that could be protests, that could be if they're part of your family, that could be not making them part of your conversations, whatever it is. But at this point, it's just ignorance.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, it's not really funny, but I was thinking about what Ralph Angel said to Blue last night. Excuse me, where he was saying, he was talking about Black Lives Matter, and Blue was, questioning. He's a little boy. That's, well, Daddy, what about, everyone? And he's saying, if all lives matter, then, our Black lives matter as well. And I think that for a lot of the older generation of people, I think that was a struggle because I think they were just used to, the old leadership style of civil rights and the old sloganing of, how, we shall overcome and, all of those particular things. And I think if all lives matter, if a white lives matter, then a black life matters as well. And it's not at the, as you said, it's not at the exclusion of others. I think it was Nikki Giovanni just said, just because I love black doesn't mean I hate white. And so I think it's not an all or none type of proposition. It's a I want to be included as well, just as much as your freedom and your life matters. My freedom and my life matters as well. And so,
And
spend a lot of time talking about that. Yeah.
and I think one of the biggest and best defenses of it has always been all lives can't matter until black lives do matter. And
Right.
I've always loved that saying, and it's absolutely true. You cannot say all lives matter because we clearly black lives do not matter to most of the country. So until that happens, then we can truly say all lives matter.
Definitely. Definitely. And then the final thing that I want to touch on about Queen Sugar before we go ahead and go into This Is Us, the question was raised where Charlie and Micah got into a dialogue. He's on the phone, probably talking to one of his frat bros or whatever, and talking about what they're going to do and all those particular things. And he used a little salty language. Yeah, yeah, grown man. He's doing the push-ups. First of all, he's trying to get his little bird chest together and stuff for the for the march or whatever. And so getting his little bird chest together, and mom comes in, and he's like, yeah, they start dialoguing, and the dialogue is kind of like that old debate of uh, Malcolm or Martin. Do we riot? How do we respond? Do we reason? Do we love? Do we bargain? Do we vote? What do we do? I mean, what do we do? What's the proper response to these things?
It is really difficult, and I think that every generation struggles with this.
Sure.
Of course, you had the Malcolm dynamic versus the Martin dynamic. You know, we've tried to be peaceful. We've tried to vote. We've tried to follow everything that one would think would help us gain equality. And nothing seems to work. They don't ever really listen until we start destroying stuff. Um,
Right.
then, of course, to our bad, we like to destroy stuff in our own neighborhood. Once we start bleeding into their areas and once we start hurting their places, that's when they really listen to us. But I really think the answer is, and this is me personally, and I think a lot of people also have this idea. I really think the answer is holding the dollars. Um, you know, cash rules everything around me is absolutely a prophetic song because we start holding the dollars and holding them accountable with advertising dollars and buying their products, that's when things start changing. The Black Lives Matter movement didn't really take off until we started boycotting the places that were supporting these other companies or these or Donald Trump or anybody that was going against Black Lives Matter. Once we stopped supporting them, you started seeing them all claiming Black Lives Matter. I mean, the effort to prove that Black Lives Matter has been unmatched, but that's because it's our dollars that we started taking away. It's us getting on social media and using social media to our advantage, us canceling people. And of course, they don't like cancel culture. Maybe you don't like it for individuals, but when you start canceling companies out, they start listening because they need that money to keep operating. So if we can, it's a smaller groundswell and it's starting to build up. When things start opening up, it may start dying off. But if we can continue to hold our dollars and hold these companies accountable for who they represent and who they support, then they'll start supporting us even more. So I really think that's the key. And I think that's always been the key.
Yeah, I agree with you. We need economic empowerment. We need to support those who support who support us. And I also believe in reparations. I'm a big fan of Ta-Nehisi Coates, and several years ago he wrote a long form article in the Atlantic magazine entitled "The Case for Reparations," where he goes through the history of housing discrimination and how, because blacks were kept out of the housing market, we were not able to build wealth because it was one of the biggest wealth builders in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Even now, most people, the majority of wealth that they hold is home ownership if they're a homeowner. That's the largest asset usually that a person holds. And so, he made this case of that we need reparations to be empowered because we've been kept out of the mainstream uh, uh, economy so long that we're so behind that this will help us catch up. And so, yeah, I definitely think it's economic. When we start hitting people's wallets, when you start hitting people's bottom lines, then, all of a sudden people are awake and, you see Black Lives Matter posters in the store and, you see these equality things and all of that stuff. And so we'll see what happens. But yeah, we gotta I don't want people to get weary, and I think that's what happens a lot of times. And I think that was one of the things that we saw in the episode that a lot of times we get weary. We get out there, we move, we do things, and it doesn't necessarily seem like things have changed a month from there or 2 months from there or whatever. But it doesn't mean that we have to stop striving. So, overall, I thought it was a great episode. I think they've been doing a fantastic job, and we talked about this the other week, of really just hitting on what we went through last year. It's really like just like they were in my house. It was just like they laid it out of how we've gone from this fear to you know uh, staying isolated and start to taking steps to be freer and to be out a little bit more, and then having these major things happening in the community and seeing this big response and all of those particular things. I think they've been hitting home runs pretty much with most of these episodes. What do you think?
Yeah, extremely powerful episode last night. And I think we talked about it last week was probably the calm before the storm, and this was clearly the storm. Yeah, extremely powerful episode, very emotional. It really took us back to last year, and I don't know how everyone else is, but if you thought about it, you would feel in the emotion inside yourself also.
Definitely. I wonder if they're going to get back to that storyline of the highway and the people that the woman that was coming through. I know that was in the first episode, and we have not seen a return to that storyline, and so I'm curious if they're going to get back to it at some point in the season.
They may wait till next season to do it, but either
Yeah.
way, it's going to be good because it was starting off really good.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All right, so let's transition. Let's talk about This Is Us. One Small Step was last night's episode. And so rather than plot development, this episode is about a huge character moment. Uncle Nicky is traveling across the country because he's finally ready to open himself up to being part of a family. If you looked at past seasons, Uncle Nicky is the youngest brother of Jack, and him and Jack were estranged when Jack died, and Uncle Nicky has kind of been a loner, and we get to see really get to dive deep into Uncle Nicky's backstory of why he is this way. And so, to understand how big this is for him to be part of the family, the episode shows us some other moments from his life when he tried to open up himself to love and he failed. And so, the episode goes back and forth. We go back to 1969 in July, and the Pearsons, they're watching Neil Armstrong walk on the moon, which I'm sure was major at that time. And you have the Vietnam War, which is the draft is on the radar as well. But Jack is really trying to push his brother Nicky into moving out of the house and meet a nice girl to start living his life uh, than about anything else. And so um, he meets a young lady at work named Sally. Sally is his colleague at the animal clinic, and they fall in love. And they love talking about the moon and photography and hooking up in the back of her van, Pearl. And so she's even a huge hit with Nikki's parents. And then one day she asks Nikki to go to Woodstock with her, and from there they would take a road trip across the country and eventually end up in California, where she had a relative that had a farm and they could work there and live a life there. And so he wants to go, he wants to take that adventure, but he's worried about being rejected and can't let himself accept the love that Sally's giving him. And so Nikki, he never goes to meet her, and she leaves, and he stays at home. That's kind of, the Pearsons, they're just this weird bunch. You got this domineering dad, you have mom who's kind of like this kind of undercover supporter, and Jack is trying to get his life together, but Nikki is just, you have this character who wants to be a pleaser. Like, if I take this chance, if I take this step out and fail, then I might never recover. It's almost like, how some people are in life. We're scared to take challenges or to move or to do new things because we're scared of failure. What you think about Nikki?
Yeah, well, first of all, can we talk about Nikki having some clear development issues, because I don't know
You
why
think
they
so?
that. Absolutely, absolutely. Remember when he got into the war, they had to put
Hmm.
him on his own like punishment detail, because he just wouldn't listen. I really think he has some development issues there.
Hmm.
um I don't know why. Maybe because his dad is an alcoholic. Don't know why, but Nicky has some development issues. But he also looks at his mother and father as security blankets, because Jack clearly said, "Do you want to fetch beers all your life?" And he
Right.
clearly be fine fetching beers. He doesn't like confrontation, as you mentioned. He didn't want to see his brother Jack, and as soon as I guess he has a plan. He had a plan in his mind, but as soon as Jack pulled out the ring, Nikki was looking like, maybe I don't want to, interrupt this. Yeah, I think he has some development issues. I thought I would not like the episode because if Randall and Beth aren't in it, then I'm just like, who wants to see this episode? But
It's like,
wasn't it wasn't a bad episode, and I found myself actually rooting for Nikki there. But yeah, Nikki's just a weird character. But that weirdness got him a little bit of Sally's. Some people do really like the way that Sally walked.
I like that. I like how you put that together. I like how you put that together. A little Stetson Sonic. Okay, little Stetson Sonic reference right there. Yeah, go Stetson. All right. So yeah, so like Calvin mentioned, we see Nicky. He goes off to Vietnam and he returns, and he's distraught, sitting out in the parking lot, desperately wanting to go in to see Jack, but he's terrified again to do so. And so Nicky, he hadn't spoken to Jack in years, and clearly he's scared that Jack will reject him over again. And so, this thing of fear and rejection is just something that is kind of like a constant theme in his life. And but we get to the present day, Nikki, and he's received an invitation to Nick and Franny's baptism, and it's going to be a Zoom event. But Nikki, he's old; he doesn't get that, and so uh, and we watch him debate on whether he should go. He wants to, so he decides he's going to do it. Then things go well when Nikki first arrives at Kevin's. Uh, uh, And then Kevin, as Kevin always does, he starts going on and on about being excited to have him there and everything they could do together and what the twins will call him. Not Grandpa, but obviously he needs a nickname. And that's a little overwhelming for Nikki and all. And you know, uh, I've had one of my late uncles. Shout out to the memory of Uncle Bernard. We called him Uncle Bernie. Uncle Bernie, he was not a war veteran, although he had served in the military. He was I would call him a loner. He was a guy that spent a lot of time by himself, had no problem with being by himself a lot of times. And sometimes pulling him into family things, I can see it was a little overwhelming sometimes if that was not something he consistently did. And so I see that in, this Nicky character. We want him to succeed. We want him to embrace family and to be strong. But, I think, this comfort in yourself sometimes is a disable. It disables you. What do you think?
Yeah, but I think that it's Kevin. Kevin has this idea of how this family should run. Um, Nikki was in this trailer, and Nikki, number one, Nikki is living his life just fine. Like, he's
Right,
not out here doing anything illegal. Well, he did throw the, thing, broke the glass and all the in the last
right.
season, but
I
Nikki,
thought they were gonna arrest him at TSA. Come on now.
yeah. Well, Nikki's not out here doing anything wrong. Nikki's just living his life and minding his business. It's Kevin. It's always Kevin trying to get other people to do what he believes the family should be doing and how he thinks the family should look. Although Nikki did just pop up. The only reason Nikki popped up is because he's remembering when Kevin forced himself on him and wanted to make him part of the family. So Nikki decided, hey, well, I'm going to pop up. And you talked about Nikki not wanting to Zoom. Nikki can learn to Zoom because he learned how to order from Amazon in an instant. He was like, I
Right.
need you to teach me how to order from Amazon. Next thing you know, Nikki had boxes piling high. Looked like my front outside. Somebody always got boxes out front every day. Anyway,
Right. In my house too. I be coming home like, what the boxes?
now granted, half the boxes might be mine, but whatever. Um, but no, it is overwhelming for Nikki, and now he's
Hmm.
coming into this situation. He has the two babies, and that's a lot of responsibility to say, they're going to look at to you like a grandpop and we can't call you granddad. Nikki's never been responsible for anyone but himself. Kevin is
Right.
laying a lot on his shoulders now. A lot.
Right. A lot, a lot, a lot. And, it's funny how the pandemic has equipped like our parents' generation and maybe a generation after them to be technology savvy, to be technical savvy, in the sense of we never really did a whole bunch of Zooms. We wasn't using Google Meet like that. We were going into the office. We were doing these things. So it's amazing. My supervisor was telling me the other day how I was asking them when do they think they're going to bring people back to the office, and he was saying, I'm not sure because we've been just as productive virtually as we were when we were in the building. And I don't think we really thought we could be, because we never really used those systems that were there. And this pandemic forced us to start using these systems. And, like, wow, this really works. I can meet with people online and it's cool and people are fine and we can do this electronically and it works and I can do this from home. And so, we see, Nikki kind of adapting to that. He got his two shots and stuff. Obviously he jumped the line or he had a hookup or something, got his two shots, and he made it out there. And so,
He kept saying he was vaccinated twice. I've been vaccinated twice.
I've been vaccinated twice. Like, no, bro, you just had the boost, then you got the second shot. But anyway, and so, this thing of having a nickname and the children and all, it's a little overwhelming for Nikki. And so he ends up calling Cassidy in the middle of the night and tells her that This was a mistake in that he might leave now without saying anything to Kevin. With that phone call cutting him to his core, Nikki goes in to visit the sleeping babies, and he tells them that his life in his trailer was exactly the same for 50 years, and that when the invitation to their baptism showed up, he started thinking about the moon landing that took place on July 20th, 1969. How one day the idea of a man going to the moon felt impossible, then the next day it wasn't. The impossible became possible just like that, he tells them. That's how it was for him thinking about leaving his trailer and getting on a plane to California. It was impossible until it wasn't. He made it. And you too are my moon, he says to his brother's grandchildren, And so we see this moment where he's like, you know, these things are not hard to conquer. I think a lot of times I've seen this uh, in this episode of Nikki's character. It's the reason why he is not able to see it earlier in life is because he never took those steps. He didn't take the step to love and to go with Sally and just throw caution to the wind. He didn't take the step to just try something new and to maybe go out and strike out on his own. He always just let his fears keep him in a place where he could not see the possibilities of, hey, if a man can land on the moon, I can go to California. And so it was good to kind of see that revelation that, hey, you can accomplish what you can accomplish if you just go ahead and take the chance.
Yeah, I mean, good for Nikki. A lot of times with Nikki at the end of these episodes, he's in some sort of turmoil or whatever. And this wasn't one of those episodes. So good for Nikki
Right.
to, sit back and be at peace with himself and confronted his fears about the baby, able to talk to him, and for Kevin to come in and see that happen. Even after Nikki called the girl and told her he was going to leave in the middle of the night, and so good for him to overcome that. I was actually proud of him for that.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I think, I just think it's also a lesson of life. There are many people who have wanted to try things, to move to another part of the country, to travel more, to take chances. But our fears have stopped us. It's funny. I'll share this. This is one of my personal fears. Probably one of the biggest fears why I don't go to New York as often, for visiting when it was open, because I would be scared I would get lost on the subway. That's so dumb. But I would be scared that I would get lost in this big city. And that's like a big fear. It's funny when me and my wife go somewhere that's not familiar, she's just, hey, let's go and try it. I'm always like, I need directions. I need to know where we're going. I have this fear of being lost. And I know it has held me back from like trying different things or going different places because I really need the details. I'm not as spontaneous as I could be. And so, I kind of related to that and what Nikki was dealing
I definitely understand that. Now I'm not scared of getting lost. I mean,
with.
I
I'm sorry.
get lost.
I'm 50. I'm 54 years old. I can be scared. You know what I'm saying? I'm a scaredy cat. So yeah, I'm definitely. That's one of my challenges and all. And so it's good to see that Nikki has finally said, "Hey, I'm going to confront my fears. I'm going to confront these challenges that are within me because a lot of times the things that is holding us back are self-made. They're
Yeah,
internal."
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
most definitely. You know, um, Now the thing I'm pissed about this is us is we're not going to get another episode for 2 weeks
Are you
because there's no
serious? I didn't
episode.
even see that.
Yeah, the next episode doesn't come on to April the 6th, and so it's going to be a hot episode because we're going to see Beth and Randall. It centers on them, and it centers on the child with the girlfriend. And so they're laying on the bed talking. It looks like they get ready to kiss. Beth comes in the room. This whole dynamic of she, her. Yeah, yeah. But we're not going to see it until April the 6th.
Oh my goodness, I did not realize that. So well,
Yeah.
whatever. We'll just roll with the punches. I'm glad that you talked about some of your fears. So I think now everyone knows why you won't do this music battle with me because you're scared to get lost in this next battle and lose. So I definitely appreciate you finally admitting that you are a runner and a track star when it comes to these music battles, man.
All right, I'm about to after we get off of this, I'm about to hit you with a couple scenarios, and we're gonna work something out for April because I just want to bask in the championship. I want to take my tour as the champ.
And my phone has been hit me for a few weeks now. And clearly, so we'll see. I hear you talking, but maybe my phone is in the New York subway, and you afraid you're gonna get lost. Maybe you can't find my number or something. I
You a
don't know.
dirty guy, man. You dirty. You like Clubber Lang. I'm gonna have to come out retirement on you. So that's cool. That's cool, brother. That's cool. That's cool. Black on black crime. So I'm gonna defend my belt, y'all. I ain't scared to defend this thing. You know what I'm saying?
We'll
I'm just
see.
marinating. I'm marinating right now.
Anyway, everyone. Beauty of Queen Sugar, and this is us. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope we hit some points that you wanted us to discuss. Of course, we'll be back next week. Looks like next week we're just going to be speaking on Queen Sugar since this is us wants to take another break. I don't know why they're taking a break this time, but since they want to take another break, so we'll just have to go with that. So in the meantime, we'll try to think of some other things to do. Definitely got to get a music battle popping. We got to get some other things popping because, it's about to be the summer. We're about to break out. People are about to get out. So I like
Right.
the idea of some live episodes and maybe we can get our crab cake battle
Yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. That's a thought. That's a thought. That we need to go ahead and get this Coco, Box Hill battle going because
No,
yeah.
no. Mine wasn't Coco's. Mine was I can't even remember the name of it now. The place out off of 295. Mine wasn't Coco's.
Oh, Timbuktu,
Timbuktu. Yeah, I'm a Timbuktu person.
Timbuktu. Okay.
Coco. But there is a place in Bowie that has great crab cakes, but there's also an Amish market that we discovered that has really good crab cakes too.
Mm,
So
okay.
we just have to see. But anyway, everyone, we want to thank you for joining us as always. Catch us again. This is All Things Black with Garland and Calvin. I'm Calvin. He is
I'm the
Garland.
champ.
He is the interim champ. He's just holding acting champ until I come back in and get my title back. Get my title. Hey man, have a
Champ.
good week. I will talk to you soon. Hope you and the family stay well. Everyone else stay well out here.
Do the
Let's get
same.
out some of this weather and we will talk to you all soon. See you
See you
later.
next week.